Hi, we're going to look at one-step equations, and we're going to start with the addition one. So this is the first of two parts on this section. First thing I wanted to talk about is what do the equations actually look like? So they can be as simple as x plus 5 is 12. And then I wanted to say it doesn't really matter where the x comes first or the 5. And you can also have the number on the left-hand side and the variable on the right-hand side. So all of these are all going to have the same equation, same answer. What I want to do now is share with you a website I found. Let's do a new share here for you. And it looks kind of kid-like, but it really made a lot of sense to me. So we're going to set up this equation, this model for the equation of x plus 4. And the website is on your worksheet, and you can see it as mathplayground.com, algebra equations HTML. And it allows you to, so clicked on the x and it says plus 4, so I'm going to add 4. And you can see down here it changed x plus 4. And then on this side I need 12. And it stops you and it tells you that it's balanced, because in a way that's what an equation is. It says the two sides are equal. So if you think of it in terms of a balance, then whatever this is has to be the same as that. Our goal always is to get the x by itself. So now what I have to do is I have to get rid, this is what I want. These are the ones I have to get rid of. So the rule is, I can, if I add -1 to a +1, it's going to disappear. And look at it go. And there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one. So what that leaves me is x all by itself, which is what I always want in an equation when I'm solving an equation. And I've got 8 over here. And in fact, it allows me to check it, and it says, gives me, woohoo, I'm correct. So always have that in the back of your mind. And there's nothing wrong with going to this website and playing and practicing until you get really comfortable with it. And I'm going to go back to the camera so you can see the work. All right. So there's a couple of things you need to know. This golden rule is for all equations. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. And this is just a little reminder, and this is the key to what we're doing today, is if you take +3 and add the opposite, -3, you're going to get 0. And remember, if you add 0 to something, you're not changing it all. If I decide to give you no money, you have the same amount of money as you started with. If I take away no money, you still have the same amount of money as you started with. One other thing to remember is the inverse of addition is subtraction. So let's look at our first equation. And I know you probably already know what the answer is, but the most important thing you can learn in this is learn the steps, learn how to do them properly, so that when the formulas do get more complicated, you know what to do. So I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to highlight my variable, because that's what I want to get by itself. So beside it is +5, which is why this is called an addition equation. So the opposite, or the inverse of +5, adding 5, is subtract 5. And when I do it, I write it up there. And I have to write, the rule says I do the same thing to the other side. Just like if I had this balance, if I took 5 off of this side, I'd have to take 5 off of this side, and then they'd be balanced again. Now, -5 and +5, that cancels out to 0. So we don't have to write it anymore. And then we go 12 minus 5 is 7. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets. So if we look at the next one, okay. Now, this one's written backwards, kind of. It's got 3 plus q equals 10, but that's okay. What we're worried about, I'm going to highlight it again, is that q. That's what I want to get all by itself. I need to get rid of the 3. Now there's no sign out in front, but in math, if there's no sign in a number, it's always understood to be a positive 3. And the inverse, or the opposite of a plus 3, is a minus 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 here. By the way, subtract 3 and negative 3 are basically the same thing. Subtract 3, Q is equal to 7. And we're done. All right. I'm just going to take a minute here, and I am going to highlight all of the variables all at once. All right, so on the same side as my x, I need to get rid of this 10 because for an equation to be solved, it needs to be positive all by itself. So I'm going to have to get rid of 10. So I'm going to subtract 10 there, subtract 10 there. Now remember, this disappears because 10 minus 10 is 0. I don't have to write it anymore. X is equal to 13. Key important, make sure if you're using your if you need to use your calculator, you're checking the 23 goes in first. It's 23 minus 10. Oh, this one's nice and easy. So m plus 3 is 8. So I need to get rid of that plus 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 here, subtract 3 there. M is equal to 5. What I'd like you to do now is turn off the video and do this bottom part without the video running. Try it on your own, because you're not going to learn much if all you do is watch me do the questions and then copy it down. You need to do it all by yourself. So I'm trusting you did that. So I've got my t there. I need to get rid of the 4. So subtract 4, subtract 4. 7 minus 4 is 3 is equal to t. Now here's my r. So I need to remove my 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. Now you have to be very careful at this point. You need to make sure you're going 3 minus 7 on your calculator or your head. Either one is fine. And you're actually going to get minus 4 is equal to r. And it's okay when you're doing these if you get negative answers. On probably the next sheet, it's okay if you get decimals. But if that made you a little worried or you weren't really sure, another thing to remember is how you do a check. And a check has probably 3 lines to it. What you need to do, and I'm a paranoid mathematician and I'm also a really good mathematician, so you want to do it the same way. Well, I suggest you do. You rewrite your equation. The second thing you do is you put in your answer. So instead of the r, I'm going to substitute that negative 4. So 3 is equal to 7. You can do this if you want, right? Because I don't want to really change anything. So 3 is equal to 7 plus negative 4, and you know that that answer is 3. And when these two numbers are the same on both sides, then your check worked. Remember this number and that one don't have to match, but the one on both sides of the equation do. So minus 12, getting on to my next question, minus 12. So y is equal to 16 minus 12, which should be 4. And I'm going to, on this last one, subtract 15 from that side. I got to do 15 here. So 16 minus 15 is 1 is equal to n. Okay, remember that cancels out. Just for fun, you should practice your checks, because in reality, you could get 100% on an assignment, because if you check your questions, you're always going to have them right. Or if they don't work out, you're going to be able to go talk to somebody and ask them why. So step 1, recopy my original plus 15. Now I take my answer that I got and I replace the variable. And then I simplify both sides. And the two numbers are the same, so it worked out. Awesome. And there's the timer to tell me that that's a 10-minute video, and that's all I want to do. Have a great